Ladies and gentlemen, it is officially training camp time. The first week of camp is in the books. Welcome back to another episode of Chargers Powder Hour. Colin Appel and Miles Raruka here. Miles, how we feeling after the first week of training camp? There's a lot to catch up on today, so I'm excited to do all that. It's been a week since we've last caught up. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. We got a lot of storylines, a lot of guys that have really been showing out so far in camp. I feel like this is the storyline every year, though. Is everything just looks so perfect in camp, and then shit happens out on the field, as us Chargers fans all know. So, but nonetheless, football is back in some capacity. We're finally, we're getting videos of Justin Herbert throwing the ball to some new toys of his, and some defensive plays going on, especially in the defensive backfield. But we will get to those. And I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about this, man. How you been up to, or what have you been up to, and how you doing?
Not much, man. Just following along pretty much every day with training camp. It's been pretty positive for the most part. Super exciting. I feel like it's just that time of year where I'm so like itching for any sort of football news and action that I just find myself scrolling Twitter or excuse me, X nowadays.
Have not got the update yet, just because I want to keep it
Dude,
Twitter
my
for as
phone
long as
somehow did it like
possible.
automatically, and it's so weird. I don't know how I feel about it.
I'm not gonna do it, man. I like my blue Twitter screen button, so I'm just gonna wait as long as possible.
Yeah, I think I don't know how mine did it, but anyways, yeah, I've been basically scrolling. I'm still gonna call it Twitter. Fuck it.
Please call it Twitter.
I've been scrolling Twitter, just basically, yeah, munching on every Quentin Johnson highlight, every Justin Herbert throw, every Daniel Popper tweet. So just consuming all that good stuff, and super excited to talk about pretty much the first week of camp now that that's in the books.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Like I mentioned, yeah, we've been getting a lot of videos. I wish there was some way that you could live stream camp. I know that's not a thing. Hopefully, will be in the future. But that would definitely be something I would 100% tap into if that was a thing.
Dude, yeah, especially if someone invested in like a decent setup where it's not too obnoxious, where you can like record video and it's not gonna like make a scene. But it's also not someone with like a Nokia flip phone
Yeah,
up in
for
stands,
sure. Yeah,
Um, but yeah, no, I totally would subscribe for some of that content. Um,
give me like an all 22 angle of training camp, please. If that can be a
oh
thing,
yeah, dude,
oh,
that
that'd
would
be
be sick.
so sick. Need
That would be
that.
something that like maybe, oh, dude, if they added that to like NFL Network or do you pay for like the NFL app?
No, well, us as a household, we just pay for Red Zone, and then I watch all my Chargers games on like pirated ass websites. If you know, you know.
Same.
But yeah, so we pay for Red Zone, and then that's about it. So
Yeah. Luckily, there are some pretty good sites out there, some good streaming sites that are honestly pretty good quality. Every now and then I'll have an issue with one of them, but there's like two or three in my Rolodex.
they get the job done. I've actually started, especially like primetime games. If I'm out and about doing something, like there's dudes that will like live stream it on TikTok, and you can just watch. Like they'll just record their TV and live stream on TikTok, and you can just watch the game
That doesn't
literally
get
on
shut down.
TikTok. Not the ones that I've seen. I think they might have like a certain lifespan. Like maybe you get through like a quarter of action, and then somebody comes in and ruins the fun. But I don't know, man. I have resorted to that, not for Chargers football necessarily, but I have resorted to that in the past for other sporting events. So the options are available even here in Nebraska to get our Chargers action in sight. So
Yeah, good stuff, man. Well, before we dive into the content, um, I know you don't have a drink because you dropped the ball again, but I just wanted to throw
I
out that
drank it all.
there you go. I'm sipping on a margarita here, so I'm feeling good. I'm nice and loose, ready to
I
talk some ball.
staying hydrated with some water. So, but I'm just as much wanting to talk ball as a man with a margarita in his system. So let's get to it.
Let's do it, man. First things first, since we just got the latest uh, installment of the NFL Top 100. Breaking news: Justin Herbert lands at, what'd you say, number 32?
32.
32 on the NFL Top 100. We kind of talked about this a little bit before we hopped on, but just want to get your take now for the audience as well. But is that too high or too low for Justin Herbert going into year 4 and coming off the year that he had last year?
So the thing with NFL top 100 is you need to look at not just the ranks, but like the people that are around you. And you and I had a big discussion about how Jalen Hurts is not yet on the list. So, and it would probably be blasphemy if he was left off the top 100 as he did lead his team to a Super Bowl. But does that mean that a guy like that should be put ahead of Herbert just due to, the accolades on the field? I don't think so. So
Yeah, I agree.
32, I don't even think 32 is necessarily a bad number, just with how disrespected it seems Justin Herbert gets in the media. Thank God not by players or coaches, though. They know how legit that dude is. But yeah, I don't know. 32 seems okay. Seems respectable, but there's definitely going to be some people above him that are going to be some head scratchers.
I am right there with you. I think it's a respectable range for him, especially considering the year that he had last year. Being hurt, dealing with those issues, his shoulder, obviously his ribs bothered him for a majority of the season.
And
Um,
literally everybody around him being on and
uh,
crutches. So
yes, on the IR. So it's. I think it's a respectable number, and I'm honestly one of the things I'm excited for most this Chargers season is not just the wins and losses and to find out where we stand at the end of the season, but it's honestly just to watch the progression of Justin Herbert just go to another level. He's healthy. He's got his contract taken care of, which I think is huge, not just only for his mental and his own psyche. I think we've already seen kind of some of those immediate, uh, you know, I guess shockwaves of that deal. He seems a little bit more kind of like he's taking more ownership of this team. Now that he knows he's going to be here for the long haul. He's always wanted to be here, is what he said. Um, so I really think that's going to translate to a different Justin that you see maybe on the field this year, one that we haven't seen yet, one that's, you know, full ownership of this offense. It's his show. He's going to dictate, he's going to have the last say because he's the one snapping the ball. So that's a good thing. So I'm really just excited to see the level of production that he puts out this year because I mean, with the weapons that he has this year, if they can stay healthy, which I know that's the case every year, if they can stay healthy, I just think it's going to be
it's
off
over.
the charts.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue. I mean, he's coming off his worst year last season and still threw for 4,700 yards, 25 touchdowns compared to 10 interceptions. And you think to yourself like those are just pretty that's a pretty decent year for QB, honestly. But for Justin Herbert standards, that's lackluster. And now you look at the new OC that we brought over. We look at the new weapon, especially in Quentin Johnston that we added to the roster, and this was a roster that was absolutely decimated on the offensive side of the ball offense and defensive side of the ball, but especially, when our leading receivers in like critical games last year was Joshua Palmer and, DeAndre Carter.
Yeah.
That's very concerning. But the thing that I love most about Justin is he's got that clutch gene. I know a lot of people can come up with all these excuses about the playoff loss, but you look at like the throw that he made against Kansas City on that last drive with the busted ribs, another one that he made to Keenan on the far side in that game in LA to really go down and end up really putting us in an opportunity to win that game. The throw to Keenan against the Raiders last year, just God, this dude just puts the ball in these windows that are so unrealistic that it doesn't really make sense to me, but he's just that good. And like you said, he's going into his contract. Well, he's going into his first year. Well, his contract won't be going on this year, but uh, after getting that massive bag for himself, I think he really wants to go out there and prove himself to the league and everybody. So 32, that's fine for now, but top 10 next year.
Oh, I think there's a big number, a big low digit coming next year around this time when the list is revealed for Justin Herbert.
The only double digit for Herbert next year is 99, and that is on Madden. So
I like it. There you go. Yeah. So other news as far as the NFL Top 100, I believe Khalil Mack, he came in today as well at number 40
38.
or 38, excuse me.
40 is close enough, round up,
40, 38, which is still a very respectable number for Khalil, a guy that's getting older, a guy that not too long ago was in the single digits on this list. Um, so, it's still a great number for him. I think he's primed for a big season as well. I don't think we saw his full potential in a Bolts uniform last year. So excited to see that as well. And then the other Chargers, if you're not aware yet, that have made an appearance on the NFL Top 100 this year. I believe Joey Bosa was number 70. And I believe Eric Kendricks was help me out here.
I want to throw out a number. I want to see how close you get.
85,
93.
93. So
93.
those are the other bolts to make an appearance on the NFL Top 100. I believe we'll probably have one more. We'll see where Mr. Derwin James falls, but yeah, always fun to kind of keep an eye on that list and just kind of see wherever everybody falls. So, but let's talk camp, man. There's been a lot that's gone down since we've last recorded, which was just a week ago. Every practice, every scrimmage, every 7-on-7, 11-on-11 has gone down in between, then and now. So I wanted to start with our defense because we didn't really have time to kind of preview the defense on our last episode. And a lot has happened on the side of the ball just in the first 4 or 5 days of practice. So I think the biggest news, man, and something that we kind of talked about last week, and we were just kind of a day short of really knowing more information on it. But JC Jackson, he is back. This is huge news for the Bolts. Many people for a decent length of time did not believe he was going to be back for quite some time into the season, and for him to be back pretty much on day one of camp, and now they are ramping him back up. Brandon Staley did say, "Hey, we're going to take it easy. We're going to make sure he gets ramped up in a manner that is going to have him ready to go week one." So huge news, though. He's out there. I think he's got pads on now, but he's pretty much been like one day on, one day off at this point. Or now it's I think it's transitioning from like a one session on, one session off. So whether or not he does 7-on-7 or 11-on-11s, he's usually doing one or the other. So just kind of ramping him up, but he's made some plays already. He had a big pass breakup, I believe, maybe on the first day of practice against Keenan Allen. So already making his presence felt, and it's just, man, it's good to see him back on the field.
Yeah, as the Chargers social media team said, JC Baxon, pretty much. Just an insane turnaround for what honestly looked like it could have been a career-ending injury. I know, especially in where he was kind of at in his career. It's not like he's a rookie coming into the first day of ball. To see an injury like that go down, is never a good sign. But really, I think what we need to focus on now, as long as he can stay healthy, is his play on the field. Obviously, he was a massive, massive red flag out there when he was healthy last year. Just was simply not good in the games in which he played last year. But he was dealing with some injuries through camp. He missed a lot of time.
Ankle.
Yeah, exactly. His lower half of his body has just been really, really banged up over the last year. So, he missed some camp. I really think another year in this and Staley's system for him, and to be able to be healthy through camp and work his way from now until the start of the year, I think I can expect some big things from him hopefully this year to really turn it around.
Look, this is such a huge component to this defense. I think we all probably would agree that um, the run defense for this defense the last couple of years has not been stout. It's been a weakness, and at times, as top heavy as this roster is, it feels like there's been holes on the defensive side. Um, and having JC go down last year, I believe in like week 7, just I mean, we got some superb play from Michael Davis down the stretch, so that was a silver lining and all of that. But it just goes to show you that, I mean, even though this league is so next man up mentality, like just having having a guy be able to stay healthy and be on the field for all of, if not majority of the season, just to have that presence there is so huge just in itself. He changes the way that offenses have to look at and attack this defense if he's on the field. And Michael Davis, he's one of my favorite guys on the roster. He's a fan favorite for me. He's a solid depth piece. If he's your CB3, CB4, depending on the package that you're in, that puts you in a really good position to do some other things to affect the offense. And uh, I really hope he can get back to 100%. I think he's really close, it sounds like. But I also hope he can thrive in this system, because I think that's still something that, like you said, I mean, that's you brought up a great point. Everyone's so excited for him to be back just because we've missed him so much with his absence that we kind of forget the quality of play that he was at last year. And now I know, like you said, there's some factors for that, and you're totally right. Like injuries, nagging issues. He was definitely dealing with all that stuff. But I would just love to see him like take off in this scheme, in this system, and you show us why we invested $80 million into him.
Yeah, and I think if anybody's going to be able to get the most out of him, it's Brandon Staley. There's a reason why Brandon Staley brought the guys like Khalil Mack, Sebastian Joseph Day, all these dudes that are familiar with his system, or at least have run a similar system like J.C. Jackson, is because he knows that that's what's gonna work for this defense. He wanted to really put the blueprints on this defense and make sure that he gets the players that are going to fit the required needs for this type of defense. So, if as long as we can trust that Staley at least knows what he's doing, at least knows the kind of pieces he needs on this defense, then I think that it would be a fair assumption to say that there's a good chance that J.C. Jackson can have a massive breakout year this year.
I hope so, man. I hope so. It would be huge for this defense and just huge for this team going down the road. So, other defensive backs, since we're on the DBs, I wanted to highlight some early, I guess, some emerging talent so far in camp that have been some really nice surprises so far. First guy is Jasir Taylor. This guy he's being asked to step up and be in a much bigger role than he was last year. Brandon Staley said, look, he's right now going into camp. It's his job to lose, to be that starting star player, is what Staley calls it, basically in the slot. So to be that starting slot corner on this defense, I mean, he's the guy right now. So, and he's responded well. He's made some good plays. He made some noise on Monday. He had 3 good plays yesterday, in coverage against Justin Herbert. And so you just love to see those year 2, year 3 players continue to take another step. And you never want a guy to be a bust. You never want a guy just to never pan out, even if they're more of a project and it takes them a little bit longer to kind of get to where they need to be. It can still be a good investment. I think there's plenty of good examples. One guy being Trey Pipkins. That guy was almost, I mean, he basically was like left for dead by a lot of fans. Just kind of like cast it off as this failed project, never going to work. Telesco missed on that one, and now give it a year and a half later, he's our starting right tackle, and everyone's freaking out that he's already injured. So it's just funny, there's other guys like I always think of another fellow former defensive back for the Chargers, Rashawn Jenkins. Or Rayshawn Jenkins, I'm sorry. Not Rashawn.
Well,
I was
close
close.
enough, man. I would have given it to you. So
But I mean, he was a guy that, first couple of years, he was kind of just a depth piece, more of a special teams guy. And then all of a sudden you see him take this massive step forward and he's a huge part of Gus Bradley's defense. So, yeah, Jasir Taylor, love to see him taking the next step forward. Same with Dean Leonard. Dean Leonard was kind of the player of the day yesterday. I mean, Popper pretty much centered the headline and the money section of that article on Dean Leonard, which I personally loved. I really enjoyed that. I think of these two young defensive backs that we drafted last year, Jasir Taylor definitely got more of the love last year and more of the opportunities, but it's just nice to see another young second, third year player take a step up. He had 5 pass breakups yesterday
on
on
7
7
targets,
targets.
which is crazy. Yeah, I'm looking at the article right now. I'm actually really. It's funny you brought that up because I'm literally going back through it right now. But yeah, 5 pass breakups on 7 targets. Granted, not all of these reps were from Justin Herbert. A few of them were from Easton Stick or Max Duggan, but
Yep.
there were a few that were Herbert to Parham that Leonard was able to break up in the end zone, and just like the 5 breakups on 7 targets is insane accuracy if you really think about it. Like
Yeah.
you'd never see that in like a real NFL game, but really good things coming from Dean Leonard so far in practice. Was kind of a name that I feel like Jasir Taylor, being both of them were the 2 last rounds, both being cornerback picks. I feel like Dean Leonard's name kind of fell off the face of the earth after, Jasir Taylor kind of has started to stand out for a lot of people. So it's really
Hey,
nice
let's
to
not
see
forget
him.
his Monday night heroics against Denver,
No,
okay?
yeah, okay, yeah. Let's
Forcing
never.
that muff punt that set up a game winner for us.
Yeah, you just love forcing muffed punts because muffed punts are always forced. But yeah, no, shout out Dean Leonard for that play. He probably he probably scared him or something when he was running by. But
He
yeah,
yelled, "Bitch."
I'm just really happy, dude. Imagine if we have a 6th and a 7th round DB in the same draft and they both break out. Like that's unheard of.
Yeah, I mean, the value there would be insane. And look, it's camp. We're gonna overreact to these notes, obviously. Um, like he said, it's important to point out, 2 of the quarterbacks that he made some of those plays on, being Easton Stick and Max Duggan. Not to take that away from Dean Leonard at all, but it's different when these guys are going to be in the game in November and you're asking them to you're expecting that level of production against a guy like Mahomes or
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen or someone. So there is a little bit of grain of salt to take with this news, but nevertheless, we are excited and we just like to see young players emerge. So um, next on the list was Asante Samuel Jr. So he's kind of had an up and down camp so far. I don't know if I would say up and down. He's made some good plays, and
He's had flashes.
he's had flashes. Yeah, very flashy. I thought Staley's comments, just kind of in regards to him, like going into camp, were very interesting, especially after the first day, with a lot of the media sessions. He basically said like, "Hey, look, right now he's in a reserve role. Like, Jasir Taylor is going to be the starter in the slot, but JC coming back, like he's getting the short end of the stick, basically. Like he's getting kind of pushed back down the bench when it comes to the cornerback room. But again, it's never a bad thing, if he's your 2 or your 3, that just shows the quality of depth that you have in that room. And made an INT on Saturday. Yeah, it was the first
Pick,
interception of
pick
camp, I believe.
six.
Yeah, against Justin Herbert. So still out there being a ball hawk, still out there making plays. He should have had another one, I believe, against gosh, was it Shepard that he like broke up? Should have been an interception, but he broke it up. He
Yeah, I
missed the
think it
pick,
was.
and then it fell back into Shepard's hands, and he took it in for a touchdown.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So that's unfortunate. That's kind of a I don't know why, but why does that feel like such an Asante Samuel Jr. play? Where it's
Because
like had the pick, dropped the pick, something terrible already
Asante
happened.
Samuel is like the most roller coaster corner I've ever seen. He'll like make an absolutely outstanding play one time and then just get absolutely lost in coverage and leave a dude 20 yards by himself downfield. Like
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's
That's just his play style, I guess. I
yeah.
don't
I
know.
think what you said just recently, like flashy, is like very or shows flashes. I think is just a very great way to describe him as an overall player. I was just asking you before we hopped on, like, are you surprised he didn't make the top 100? And you were like, no, like, not yet. And I was like, okay, because honestly, like, as flashy as he is, like, those are the things that you kind of remember. So, I mean, he had a hell of a performance against Jacksonville in the playoffs,
In the
but
first half, yeah.
I mean, yeah, he's just, I think,
Everybody had a hell of a performance in the first half.
right. For him to be more consistent, I think is kind of my expectations for him this season. You know, I don't need him to be a hero. I don't need him to be or to try to be the hero. I just need him to be Asante and go out and I think he will, find a role. I mean, it would not surprise me if he's a starter by week 3 or 4.
Yeah,
I mean,
so I really wanted to bring that up with the Jasir conversation, but I know we were going to get to Asante. So, what are your thoughts on all that so far? I don't think we've seen enough reps yet to fully declare Jasir being a better player than Asante, but clearly on the depth chart, it seems that they favor Jasir as of right now. I know Asante really struggles tackling on the perimeter,
yeah.
so if that's something that Jasir can definitely bring to the table, then or if Asante can just improve that aspect of his game, then I think for sure he's got an opportunity to be a starter on this team.
I think so. But like I said, I think it's just years to lose. So it just depends on if he loses it or not. And I've I've come to learn over my past few years of fandom, like what they break at camp with is not the final say.
Rough draft.
It's not set in stone. It's not permanent. It's always a rough draft. So, um, I'm more concerned of who's going to be the starter week 8, 9, 10, 11 than I am like weeks 1 through 5, to be honest with you, in these certain situations, at least. So, um, I think competition breeds excellence.
Iron
So
sharpens iron.
exactly. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing for these guys to go out and compete because either way, it's helping this team. You know, either way, if someone gets bumped down, like that, you have one more guy that you trust to be out there in certain moments. If a guy goes down or whatever, so I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I do think like when it's all said and done, I think that's Asante's job, just because I think you just need to have a guy like him out on the field. He's a playmaker. He can impact games uh, in such a manner where it's just 2, 3 interception games. It's like that's you just got to have that kind of talent out on the field. I think nothing against Jasir Taylor. He could be a mighty fine player and grow into to being a really good player. But right now, I think if Asante just takes this opportunity in camp to embrace the role, fully go all in, and try to win that. I think it's his.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've really, like we've mentioned, it feels like a broken record, but the flashes that Asante showed, not even this past year, but his rookie year, I can remember like the game in KC where he had that big interception for us. Just the things that he's put out there the good of Asante can be really, really good, but unfortunately, there's the dark side to that, and it's blown coverage and missed tackles. So
Right. And that's I think you roll with the upside on that one, but
I think so too. And like previously mentioned, another year in the same scheme, you're just gonna get those wrinkles out even more.
yeah. Yeah, hopefully. So another year, another big step for Asante as well. This will be year 3 for him. Staying on in the defensive back room, but switching over to the safety position. Um, I don't need to spend a whole lot of time on Derwin. Derwin is Derwin.
I don't think we really need to say anything about
Right.
Derwin. Keep him in the top 100 here pretty soon. Uh,
He has
one of
had some
the
nice plays in camp. I made a nice play on Keenan Allen in 1v1s yesterday. That's kind of been like a training camp. It's starting to become a training camp tradition of Keenan and Derwin lining up 1v1. And he got Keenan. So I think they did more than one rep, but
who do you root for in those situations? If you're seeing 1v1 Derwin versus Keenan, who are you rooting for?
those are always tough because it's like I was just thinking about this yesterday. I'm like, it's got to be. I mean, I always think of the others. I don't know why my brain does that. If like we have an offensive player that burns defensive player,
You're just like, oh, great, our
I'm
offense is
excited, but then
awesome.
I'm also like,
Our
fuck.
defense is shit still. Great, awesome.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So it's a double edged sword, but uh, I mean, I'd like to think you hope for like high quality competition and
You just want to see
hopefully,
some dope ass shit, dude.
yeah, I
Let's
just
see.
want to see some playmaking, and I mean, it's
I
gonna have
want
it.
to see either a one hand catch or
Yeah,
like or a one hand pick or something, But yeah, I think I'm honestly rooting for Keenan in those matchups, just in where Keenan is in his career. A lot of people, think that he's really on the slower end right now. So I'd love to see him win some reps against one of the best defensive players in the whole league.
I think
We
Keenan's
know
got
what
more to.
Derwin is. We know
Yeah,
what Derwin is. We don't got to worry about Derwin.
Keenan's got more to prove at this point in his career, and yeah,
Exactly.
100%. I mean, if he can make Derwin look silly even in year 11, coming off injury issues, it's like, all right, you know, Keenan's he's fine. So yeah, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on Derwin, because the other guy that's starting to make more and more headwaves over the last couple days and has kind of had a nice start to camp is Alohi Gilman, Alohi Crew. So he had an INT today. He picked off Justin Herbert. He also had a nice pass breakup last Thursday. He's been making plays in the run game. He's had some nice reads, according to Popper and his notes. So again, another young defensive back. Now, although he's not super young, I think he's going into his final year of his rookie contract. So
Is this going to be his fourth year then?
I think so.
Dude, that's
Um,
wild. I feel like, oh my god, that's crazy. Time flies so much when you think about it in like terms of draft picks. It feels like Keenan's breakout year was last year.
dude,
Like
I remember Keenan's rookie year.
I know, I remember the game against the Broncos when he hurdled that dude. Like,
Yes.
and when we
Yeah, and
upset him
against
on
the
Monday.
Eagles when I think the Eagles was like his breakout game when we
Yeah,
beat Chip Kelly in Philadelphia.
yeah, I remember that game. Damn. Time flies when you're having fun or blowing massive playoff leads. But either way,
Right.
Aloe Gilman
No,
into his fourth year is crazy to think about.
look, this was just like this has kind of been uh like a note that I've taken all year on this team, on this defense. You know, Nasir Adderley retiring, I think shocked a lot of people this offseason. And when that news broke, I was kind of like, damn, like I don't like that because not to discredit or anything against Alohi. It was just solely thinking depth and
Mhm.
what Nasir could bring in those situations. But Alohi has come on over the last year. I think he was gaining steam at the end of this last year. He was getting reps. Nasir was really up and down at times, struggling. So I think Alohi he's kind of been one of the again another project, if you will, on the defensive side, and he's finally after a couple years in the system, he's finally starting to kind of emerge as a quality piece that you can put out there. I mean, he's going to be a starter. He's going to be a starter on this defense, unless any moves are made from now until week 1. But I don't really see that happening. But you never know.
Yeah, the
So
Alohi Gilman story has been really, really fun to kind of follow. It when he got drafted, just a depth piece, got some rotational snaps, and then it felt like last year, especially like that pick against the Browns, just made some other really crucial plays down the stretch and big moments in some
he's made
games.
some plays against Mahomes.
Yeah, he had the game sealing pick against the Chiefs in that game that we won at Arrowhead last year.
No, that was 2
Alohi
years ago.
really has been well. It'll be 2 years ago this fall.
Yeah.
When I say okay, yeah, my brain hasn't really switched to like when it's football season. Then I'll say 2 years ago, but to me that was still like last foot. Okay, whatever. But yeah, 2 years ago, the pick against the Chiefs, like Alohi's really, really shown us some stuff on the field in big situations that I've loved to see. So him making plays in camp, I saw the video of his pick today over. I think it was Parham that he just kind of jumped the route right in front of Parham, made a really nice play on the ball. Stuff like that is just stuff you love to see, man.
You just like to see things start to click for some of these guys, and might take a year or two, and it first starts to click in camp. This is where they finally get to kind of like you know make
These are like
a
these are their NFL like this is the NFL moment for a lot of
yeah,
these.
and there's not a lot of consequences to really kind of like deal with. If you fuck up on a read, it's like, I mean, yeah, it's a bad rep and
It's a teaching moment
it's a
though.
teaching moment. It's not like on
It
Sunday
doesn't
when you get
affect
beat.
it doesn't affect the box score. So
Right. So, these are just good reps. And it also going back to guys like Jasir and Dean Leonard, just glad to see them taking more steps
mhm.
and, being quality players. So, um, the linebackers, man, I really didn't have a whole lot. I mean, I went back
I
trying to
think
find. I don't
sorry,
think we've
I don't want to
seen.
cut you off real quick, but I think you're missing a safety that we should probably talk about.
I so I have him down here, but I have a
I don't
question
really
mark
know what to
next
say
to him.
about him either, but I think we
Yeah,
should at least mention his name, JT Woods.
JT Woods. I mean, yes, we definitely should bring him up just because we haven't really talked about him so far, and he's a guy that you know hopefully is not a bust, and hopefully can take a big step forward in his second year. Um, he's not off to the best start in camp. He had a play. I can't remember what day it was, but I remember reading something in Popper's articles about him taking a bad angle or something and basically getting beat. Um, which is again teaching moment. That's why you like camp, but it's also kind of, I mean, and again, it's so early. He could break out anytime in camp, and this could be a totally different conversation at some point in the near future. But all we can really go off of is you know his rookie season, which is not a lot, and not the most encouraging. And you know, I think the most right now concerning thing for JT Woods is the fact that he is our backup safety if anyone goes down.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
probably, I don't know,
Raheem Lane would
Raheem
probably see
Lane.
some
Yeah,
snaps.
Raheem Lane, I'm sure would probably be above him on the depth chart. But I mean, it's safety depth is very concerning.
Yeah, big concern. And I mean, just to be honest, I wanted to mention his name, but neither one of us know anything about JT Woods because we just haven't seen him on a football field, really. Like we know what his draft profile looked like, but
I was
we
gonna
just
say, yeah,
didn't
that's all we
see
know.
any reps last year whatsoever. I don't even remember much camp film about him or him in the preseason
It was
whatsoever.
pretty
Like,
much like as soon as we draft, like he was the third round pick, so he's like a high profile pick. Uh, but it seemed like, yeah, as soon as we drafted him and rookie mini camp, like we didn't like he was like hidden from us, like put on a shelf, like we didn't hear about him in camp, didn't like, you know, I don't know, it just felt like he was all of a sudden MIA, and
yeah, it felt like we never even got like a rookie deal done with him. Like he just hasn't
Yeah.
existed. So
So it's been a weird situation, but I did have him down on the list, just so you know. I just had a big question mark next to him because I had no idea really what to put for him. And that's kind of how I am with the linebackers so far in camp. I mean, obviously, starting linebackers, you're looking at Eric Kendricks. Um, wait, Eric?
yeah, Eric,
Why do I honestly some days I'll be like, what's the other Kendricks?
Michael.
Michael, dude. I
No,
still,
because when you were mentioning the top 100, I was about to say Michael Kendricks.
yeah, I still am going back. Like, that's going to be a tough one for me, man.
Which is
When
weird
I,
because Michael Kendricks is not a very like notable player, but for some reason everyone gets those names fucked up. So
Yeah. So Eric Kendricks. I should know that by now. Um, so him, Diane Henley, and Kenneth Murray are your starting linebackers. Just to preview this position group as a whole, um, it's a concern of mine, especially not only just depth, but I think there's a lot of unknown, like a rookie, Diane Henley. What level of play is he going to come in and be at? Um, Then there's the continuing Kenneth Murray saga. Like people want to buy into the fact that he might turn it around in year 4. I think at this point we know what kind of player he is and who he is. So I'm not really expecting much there. I'm just kind of hoping he has a serviceable year where it's like you're not terrible, but you're not uh, amazing either. You're just kind of like so. And honestly, at this point, I would take that for one more year of Kenneth Murray, and I don't know if he'll be in the league much longer. I mean, he could be, but we'll see. But he's definitely not going to be a Charger after this year. So
yeah, unless he somehow is like a second team All Pro this year, just out of nowhere. But yeah, linebacker is an area that we know Staley has really just disregarded in this defense. Well, really did until the drafting of Diane Henley and Eric Kendricks, which does gives me some hope that this unit can turn it around. But you're looking at Eric Kendricks, who's well past his prime now. Well, I thought he was well past his prime, but if he's ranked on the NFL top 100 still, like
I
he
think
must
he's
have
kind of like
something left in the tank.
I think he's almost in the same boat as like Khalil Mack when we brought him in last year. Not as big of a name, not as flashy,
I just
but
don't want him. I don't want him to be like the next Thomas Davis,
I don't think so.
one of
I
those
don't think he will
veteran
be.
guys.
I still think he's got some good football in him. I think he's very in my mind he's kind of similar to the Khalil Mack signing last year in the sense that I think he's like a year, maybe 2 years off of his like prime, like
Prime, but he might still be
prime,
in the
like not like
prime.
he were like just off the prime of his career. But I still think we haven't gotten him like on vet status where it's like old man with a cane, like, oh, cool, we signed like Tom State.
Like Antonio Gates retiring. Like yeah,
Right. Like I don't think we're there yet either. So I think he's got some good football left in between those stages. But um yeah, so I mean, like you said, linebackers, that's not a priority. And I think the only reason Staley went out and addressed the linebackers this year is because he had to, because he let everyone else leave in his first couple of years here. Like he let everyone walk out the door. Kaiser White, Drew Tranquil. I'm sure there's others I'm just forgetting, but those are the big ones that stick out. Um, and so it's like, well, yeah. I mean, if you don't replenish it now, Kenneth Murray is going to be like your starting middle linebacker,
yeah.
like, and that's not good. So I think it was like they had to. They just had to get some new guys in. I mean, Diane Henley now is going to be. We're either going to grow to love or hate over the next 4 years, and same with some of these other young guys that are kind of some of these position groups are just turning over. That's all it is. Um, and so we got new guys coming in, and we'll get familiar with them. We'll know them for the next 3-4 years, and then on their last year, we'll probably draft their replacement, and it's just kind of rinse and repeat. And that's at least kind of what I've come to know when it comes to Lesko and the
Dude,
draft and resign strategy.
at this point, all that I want in a linebacker is somebody who tackles well, just so we can stop the run game at least a little bit more than we have been able to in the past. And I think that's especially what Eric Hendricks brings to the table is just a really good pursuit tackler, just a sure-handed tackling kind of guy. And I really love the Diane Henley value of him in the third round. I didn't know the name when we drafted him, but after doing some research, watching him a little bit, I've really grown to like the pick. I think that he's a pretty NFL ready prospect, honestly. He has the speed, he has the intangibles that you need to succeed at this level. So to say that he could break out this year, I think is a little bit bold, but I expect a lot from Diane Henley coming up this year and the following years. And as for K9, just make some tackles for us at least, please.
There you go. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of how that group fares, just through camp, and then especially once the season starts. So, moving on to the defensive line, Joey Bosa said that he's gained 15 to 20 pounds of muscle back. Said he's back to the weight that he was playing at in the Gus Bradley scheme when they switched to the 3-4 with Staley. That's when he dropped that, those 15, 20 pounds. And that's kind of what he's been playing at the last few years. So I think that's a good thing. Putting on another 20 pounds of muscle. Show me the old Joey Bosa. I don't know who this punk is that's having temper tantrums on the sidelines and playoff games. I want the old dog Joey Bosa to come back and show up. So I think that's a good thing, man. And other note on him was just that he had a 1v1 with Foster Sorrell. 2 reps, I believe. First rep, he dominated. Second rep, Sorrell kind of came back and redeemed himself. So that's pretty much my only notes on Bosa so far in camp. But honestly, another big year, I think, for him. Like, this is year what for Joey Bosa? Year
7,
like he's getting up there.
maybe
And
7.
so, I think, he's got a lot of expectations with that contract that he's carrying, and he's not too far off from signing that. So, he needs a good bounce back year this year, and needs to really just kind of regain to his old form. And I think that would solve a lot of issues for this defense. But any notes you want to add on Bosa?
He is going into his 8th year this year. No, not
Fuck.
necessarily.
Okay.
I think as long as he's healthy, which we weren't able to really see much of last year, as long as he's healthy, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. And I know we're going to transition right into Khalil Mack, but especially with we talked all last season about what this two-headed monster is going to be. Who's going to double who and who's going to be able to break free on who. And I think this is really going to be the first year, bearing everyone stays healthy, that we're really going to be able to see that. So I'm just excited to see Joey Bosa this year as I was last year. It feels like every year during the offseason, we get some kind of comment about how he's going to be, a new animal and, new big bear and all this stuff. And, bearing any injuries, I fully believe him, and I think he's really going to be a force to be reckoned with this season.
I'm glad you do, because I'm more mixed on Bosa, but I really think a lot of that in my mind just is clouded by his injury last year, and not, when it's not fresh in
It
your
does
mind, like it's not what have you done for me lately, then it's like, oh man, it's been forever since they've. But
It does feel like it's been quite a few years since we've seen, him put together a really, really nice run in a season where, he
yeah,
puts together 5 or so games where he's averaging like a sack or something per game. So if we can
right,
just get a little snippet of that big bear back and, especially that help on the outside with the run game, especially is huge. So,
yep.
yeah.
And with Khalil Mack, I mean, he's made his presence felt already in camp. He had a sack on Friday against Sorrell. He had a great rush today on Herbert. I think Popper called it one of his best rushes of camp so far.
It was
To
on
force the completion.
Rashawn Slater as well, I believe.
Yeah, he's been working on Rashawn in 1v1s,
Iron
which I
sharpens
love to
iron.
see. Iron sharpens iron there. And then so with some of these other defensive linemen, I mean, there's not a lot out so far in camp. I'm sure we'll have plenty of content as camp continues to roll on. But guys like Sebastian Joseph Day, Morgan Fox, Sebastian Joseph Day did beat Zion Johnson 2 out of 3 times in 1v1s today. So that's noteworthy. And Morgan Fox, he had a sack in 11 on 11s today. So two of those guys continuing to be productive. I mean, Morgan Fox for me is one of my favorite signings and favorite players last year on this team. Uh, just because it was so unexpected, and he's just come in and he's been such a baller. And it was this weird thing last year where sometimes the the backups that were forced into action were outperforming some of the starters' production throughout the season. And
Yeah,
it just
dude.
kind of makes you wonder, like, what are we doing? Like, when should our backups be starters? Should our starters not be starter? Like, it's just this weird thing where you're like, okay, I'm glad that you're like, I'm mad and glad that it took two guys to go down for you to get in and shine, because I feel like that was Morgan Fox last year. It was just, you know, why weren't we playing this guy from the jump? Why did we have to wait for two guys to go down for him to see regular reps? But obviously, Austin Johnson, Tito Agbania, those guys will be back at some point. They are on the pup list at the moment, but yeah, man, it's a lot and a little going on so far on the defensive line so far in camp.
I think it's hard to really get a read on what a defensive line is going to look like when they're in like a situation of you're not able to hit the quarterback right now. You're not able to. You're pretty much just like touching off on people. So I think once you can get to those,
Yeah.
especially like preseason games, is when I'll really be able to evaluate defensive line when it's going up against another team and you're full contact all the way through. So yeah, but dude, I'm excited. I'm gonna be honest. Morgan Fox is a name I've kind of forgotten about on this team, just because it's been so long since we've really heard anything about them. Well, since football was being played, but arguably our best signing of last offseason, I would say. Well, I mean, you got Khalil I would say for the price, for the value, probably our best value signing of last offseason for sure.
Yeah, he's up there for me as well, and best signings last year. So yeah, I'm excited to see kind of the camp that he has, and if he has a different role, if he has a bigger role this year, maybe he with like guys like Tito Agbania, Austin Johnson coming back, is he going to be lost in the depth chart, or is he going to be in one of those roles where we see him quite a bit on the field? So that'll be something to
Pelotu.
Tui Pelotu, there you go. He had one rush in 1v1 against Zach Bailey. And I think Bailey won, but Tuli got off to a great jump. But Bailey was able to kind of readjust and seal him off. So, not much to report there either. We'll have plenty more to kind of dissect and break down with this position group as camp goes on. So,
For sure,
moving
man.
forward though to the offense, real quick here. So, dude, the wide receiver room has been so far. It's been so much fun just to pay, like, just to watch, to keep track of, and it's probably going to be the most. I mean, there's really not a. I mean, there's the wide receiver 3 battle. I think that's the highlight of that room right now in that competition with Josh Palmer and Quentin Johnson. Um, but honestly, for me, it's the wide receiver 5 battle that's really been entertaining and fun to follow along with. I mean, John Hightower, bro. Can we start there?
Where the hell did this guy come from? I remember us name dropping him for about 2 seconds in a podcast back in like, I don't know when the hell that was, like October, when we just signed him to the practice squad. And now he's here. He's making plays, dude.
Dude, 4 touchdowns so far in camp already. 3 of them coming yesterday. 3 in one day. So, look, he's got 4.4 speed. He was a 5th-round pick for the Eagles back in 2020. So the talent level is there. 5th-round pick, 4.4 speed. We picked him up, I want to say, at some point
He
around the
was in
midway
some.
point of the year last year,
Yeah, yeah,
and never broke the practice squad because for some insane reason we didn't carry more than like 5 receivers for like the entire fucking year or something like that.
yeah. And one of them is like Jason Moore and fucking like these dudes that go out there and just run routes for fun, pretty much. So
And my, would that speed have been nice last year at times. So it's no, dude, it's no wonder why Herbert has gained some chemistry with him and why they're starting to gel. Because look, if you have that breakaway speed and you're able to stretch the field, Herbert has the arm to just throw it 10 yards out in front of you and be like, dude, go catch up to it. Like, go get it. Like, and no one else is going to get it. Like, it's either you or it's just going to be an overthrown ball. Like, who cares? Uh, but that's what's so exciting about guys like Quentin Johnson, John Hightower, um, even Darius Davis. I'm excited to kind of see how he can get in the fold a little bit. But I think for now, like at least it has to be. I know it's early, but I mean, without a doubt, it's definitely right now the wide receiver 5 is John Hightower, barring you know, any crazy injury or just misfortune. But yeah, and that's honestly to me that's been the surprise of camp so far.
dude, for real. Get your John Hightower jerseys in the mail ASAP, ladies and gentlemen. It could be a name to remember in the future. But the thing that I love most about this battle is, regardless, this wide receiver 5 is going to have some blazing speed. It's either going to be Darius Davis, Jalen Guyton, or John Hightower. And, speed in this offense aren't really two things that we've heard be said in the same sentence all too often these past few years. Definitely something that we've been needing to gain more of. And, we just added Quentin Johnson, who was the FBS leader in yards after catch last year, along with his compadre and faster player, Darius Davis out of TCU. It's going to be nice to be able to see a lot more lateral shots this year. That's for sure.
Yeah, and with Kellen Moore, I think we can expect to see that. Kellen Moore comes from the spread offense. And, a lot of what he said so far just in camp is like, hey, we're going to spread this thing out. We're going to move guys around. It's just one more thing for the defense to have to be accountable for. And this is a perfect transition for some of these guys like Mike Dubb. Mike Williams has been seen in the slot already so far in camp, which I'm super excited about. It's a new look. It's a new look not only for other defenses, it's a new look for Chargers fans. Like we see that and we're like, what? Like, what is he doing in the slot? And I love it, man. It's new, it's fresh, and it's just look like you have to try new things. And I think one of the most frustrating things about this offense last year and about Lombardi is just how basic this offense looked and was. And so I'm just excited that not only do we have the weapons in this wide receiver room, but we have, I feel, the right guy calling the plays from the sidelines to utilize the
100%.
weapons. So, yeah, Mike Dubb's been in the slot. Keenan Allen, he's made some great plays. We've seen him go 1-on-1 against Derwin James. We've seen him make some great plays in 11-on-11s, 7-on-7. Um, Quentin
Dude,
Johnson has just been the darling of maybe not even just Chargers camp, but maybe like camp everywhere. I feel like I've seen so many of his highlights all over Twitter,
dude,
not just from Chargers accounts, but from like NFL accounts. Like it's everywhere, man.
I got to say it before I forget. I know we haven't even gotten to him yet, but that one-handed Josh Palmer catch today, I was nasty. That
Well, we'll
was
get to
some.
yeah, we'll get to him right after to
I
Quentin.
know, but I didn't want to forget, so I had to say
Oh
something about
yeah,
it right
no,
now.
it was nasty.
But yeah, QJ camp so far, it looks like they're not shying away from using him like another Mike Will. I've seen him run some goal line fades, Mike Will's signature, especially in Arrowhead. Um, but like we've been seeing him do stuff like that. We've been seeing him just run crossers over the middle and turn on the burners. We've been seeing him do so much different stuff. I almost feel like this almost feels like the Chiefs offense with just so many different chess pieces and just kind of maneuvering them to just off put a defense like Mike Will in the slot. Just things like that. I'm really really excited for in this offense going forward.
Yeah, Quentin Johnson, man, I think he's going to be wide receiver one by the end of the season. I really do. And how you define that, I don't know. I just think production wise, he will have the most production out of any other receiver in this group. Um, I think that's how much Justin Herbert already loves him and is going to love him at times during the year, especially. I mean, it's just oh, it's so nice. It's so nice, man. Like looking back on draft night when I was in Kansas City at the draft, waiting for this pick to be called. Um, no one really expected it, but immediately, not even like a minute or two after, I just stood there like nodding my head, like, yes, this makes sense. This makes sense. I love it. So super excited to see Quentin Johnson out there.
One
And
quick thing
then
I'll add. One quick thing I'll add about QJ, just real quick, is it hasn't necessarily been all gold stars for him in camp though thus far. There was a report he had some drops earlier this year, which was obviously a really big concern about him coming out of college. Was big body catcher in college and had some drop issues, but I say that, and then we've also seen highlights of him going up and high pointing the ball and pulling it down with two hands. So as long as he can just make that a consistent thing, I also expect massive things for him.
yeah, yeah, I look this receiving core, if they can stay healthy, is going to be lethal because then you bring in a guy. Now we can get to Josh Palmer, who has been the wide receiver three over the last couple of years, and he's never had a really like a bad season. He hasn't broken out. He's had some nice games, some nice plays, some flashes. But it also feels like in this offense, there's just not enough love to go around, and but he's there. He's a consistent quality player. I think in a different offense, he might have a bigger role. But I've always liked Josh Palmer. I'm excited that he's probably going to be our wide receiver four. I think that means really good things for this offense. If Josh Palmer is your wide receiver four, that
You got
that's insane.
you got a loaded core if your wide receiver four is Josh Palmer.
Right. And I don't think there's any shame in him dropping to wide receiver four. I think again that's just a testament to how we've attacked this room over the last or just this offseason really. And yeah, he wasn't out there in minicamp. He was uh still healing up from some stuff. So this is kind of the first action that we've seen. And look, like competition, like we said, it's just so good. It's so good for this team, and that's competition on both sides of the ball. With defensive backs, wide receivers. So I'm not mad about these guys going at it. And at the end of the day, someone's got to lose the battle. Someone's going to be wide receiver four. Someone's going to be wide receiver five. But I think the Chargers are winning. So that's what you want.
Either way, how it stacks up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's going to be a pretty looking receiver room. We're gonna have size, we're gonna have speed, we're gonna have agility, we're gonna have quickness, we're gonna have route running, we're gonna have really everything that you can think of in that receiver room, which is something that we have not been able to say in the past. So definitely looking forward to seeing who gets what positions, especially going into like the first preseason games. Being able to watch those guys out there then is going to be really exciting.
100%, man. Finishing it up with the offensive line, we also have running backs, but kind of like linebackers, that's a similar group where there just hasn't been a lot reported on it yet. So I'm totally fine with just kind of going over the offensive line and saving running back for another day when we have a little bit more to talk about. So with the offensive line, I think so far obviously the biggest news coming out of that position group is the mystery surrounding Trey Pipkins. Trey Pipkins on Saturday during individual drills tweaked something. That's air quotes
We've heard that shit before.
from Brandon Staley. Would not disclose the full significance of the injury. So and still has not, I should add. So we still have no idea what's going on with Trey Pipkins other than he tweaked something and is day to day in Brandon Staley's terminology, which scares the living shit out of me, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, thank God this is the time of year in which we can afford to hear, tweak something in day to day and have a little bit of room to breathe. I personally, just from what I've been able to see, I don't think it's anything long term. He was still out there today, just no pads on, just going through drills. It's not like he's laid up in a hospital somewhere or can't put any weight on his legs. So it's nothing that I'm overly concerned about at this point. We don't have enough knowledge on it yet to really be able to either panic or feel 100% safe about it.
And I mean, look, I want him to be back as soon as possible, and ideally miss no time at all. But I'm a full like over the last few years, just as a fan, I think I've made the switch from I don't care, I want him back as soon as possible, and it's just I want him back, like it's gonna feel good to have him back, versus I want like the real 100% player back versus 70% of someone trying to rush back and just to say that they're back. You know, I think Trey Pipkins did that last year a little bit, and he dealt with that lingering knee issue for the majority of the year. It was kind of a on again, off again thing, and uh, this is totally unrelated. I think. I hope. We don't know for sure, but at this point, like, I'm glad they're being, cautionary and just being like, hey, chill out. There's a lot of camp. I mean, I would even go like, I wouldn't even be upset if we get to like week 1 and he's like almost back but not quite back. But he might have to sit like the first game or two just to fully regain, 100% or close to 100%, I should say, status. Then I'm all for that. Like, I don't think 2 or 3 weeks of not having Trey Pipkins out there, um, totally fucks this team in any way. Like, ideally, you'd like to have him out there, but um, if it's just like, and that's to me is like the worst case scenario. I hope, at least according to what it sounds like, that could be like maybe he misses a little bit of time at the beginning of the season, but like you said, rather that than anything more significant.
Yeah, 100%. I hope we can get him back, but especially this time of year, precaution is everything. We've already seen teams have some players go down with some injuries already thus far in training camp. So just be cautious. I think Staley, we know, well, at least we thought we know he was like a very cautious person against injuries until he played Mike Williams week 18. But I think that his resume in the past speaks for himself that they're gonna make sure that he's 100% before they get him back out there on the field.
I hope so, man. I hope he's out there soon, and I hope he's back to normal. So, other notable offensive linemen so far in camp, Rashawn Slater. Just good to hear his name, see him out there, see him go 1-on-1 with Khalil Mack and guys like that. Um, they went back and forth in their reps, and again, like, I think that's the best example of, like you said earlier, like what do you root for in those situations? Like, are you rooting for the wide receiver to burn your defensive back, or are you rooting for your defensive back to shut down your wide receiver? Like, it's two sides to it. But what I hope is, I think you would like to see two guys just continue to go back and forth, you know, and it's not a total domination on one side, but it's just two guys getting good reps in at a high quality. And hey, look, you're gonna get beat and you're gonna win. So when it comes to guys like Khalil Mack and Rashawn Slater, like two alphas, two elites at their position, that's high quality football right there. So I don't think anyone's losing in those battles, even when they do lose a rep.
Yeah, I think we can put Rashawn Slater in the Derwin tier and just say Rashawn Slater's just being Rashawn Slater thus far in camp, and we can just leave it at that.
Exactly. Zion Johnson, again, he lost 2 out of 3 reps to Sebastian Joseph Day today in 1v1s. So, um, look, he's moving from the right to the left, but the left is his natural position. That's what he played in college. So, There is some change there, but I say change very lightly because he's going back to the position that he played
I feel like
in
I feel
college.
like 2 weeks in camp should be enough to
Right.
get him back to performing at
Like riding a
that
bike.
other side where he was. So
Yeah. So I'm expecting to see him have a climb throughout camp. Like,
yeah,
steadily get
he's gonna
better and better.
he'll progress for sure. It's
I
just
think so too. Corey Lindsley, I just have him down. Corey Lindsley. Not going to talk much about
Corey
him because
Lindsley. Yeah,
had a
great
baby.
player. Had
He
a
missed
baby.
practice
Good
a
for
couple
him.
days for
Good for him. Congratulations to the Lindsleys.
congrats on the sex.
We get it. You fuck.
Jamari Sawyer. He's the last guy on this list, so this rounds out the starting five on the offensive line. He was stout in 1v1s today.
Dude,
Uh,
he's so fucking good.
does come with an asterisk just because of who he faced. He faced Scott Matlock and Lang, who is the other. I can't think of his first name.
I know who you're talking about, but I can't.
Lang's a rookie, and Popper said that he fucking demolished Lang, but also won his rep against Matlock. So, um, yeah, Sawyer's the fucking dog, dude.
Dude, I fucking love Jamari Sawyer. Like he's just he's grown to become like one of my favorite players on that entire offensive line very quickly.
Dude, I was there to see his NFL debut in Houston and had my eyes basically glued on him the entire time. And
Yo,
every snap, I was like just nudging my dad. I'm like, "That's that rookie. That's that fucking rookie." Yeah, and so I'm really excited to see him take another step forward this year.
especially
And
now in his prime position.
yeah, yes, exactly.
So
So
big stuff coming for.
this offensive line, man, I think the key is just health, and you know, like that's pretty much it.
Yeah, we'll
I
we'll
don't know
get to
what else.
we can talk about the depth in another episode because that would just be
Yeah. Well, I mean,
another
depth, I
rabbit
think it's
hole
directly
that.
tied into health because if you're healthy, you don't really have to
No,
worry about
yeah,
it.
exactly. That's what I was referring to because that's a whole different conversation when it comes to the depth of our offensive line. But hey, as for right now, everybody's healthy, and let's just hope to God we can just keep it that way.
Good vibes, good juju.
Prayer circle
Burn some sage
for the
over all
health.
your Chargers memorabilia throughout camp constantly.
I
I need to get
will.
some sage going
I'll
back on
sacrifice.
my
I will.
Charger wall.
I'll sacrifice my old Darren Sproles jersey in order to make sure we can stay safe this
Dude, if you
camp.
had Darren Sproles jersey, that's legit.
Dude, it's Darren Sproles jersey and it's the AFC anniversary jerseys.
I wish I still had my Drew Brees
So crispy.
Navy jersey. That was the first jersey I ever had. It was a Drew Brees Navy jersey, and I wore the shit out of it. I think all of the screen printed shit like fell off of it because I wore
Yeah,
it so
because you just
much.
wore the shit out of it. It was just like some knockoff that wasn't even stitched
Yeah,
up.
I remember one time peeling like a large part of the number 9 like off the back just because it was like falling off, and I'm like, oh shit.
Like, fuck this. I'm just gonna rip this shit off. So
But no, that's awesome, man. That's how you know you're an OG if you have a Darren Sproles jersey. That's why I need like
bro, I
one.
just wish it wasn't a fucking youth medium. I wish I could still wear that
Yeah,
thing, you know?
you need one just, and I need to do this for like Padres too, but just one random like. Why would you ever have their jersey
Well,
just
I
to
have go for it.
flaunt it in the right circle, and someone be like, "Are you fucking wearing a
Cameron Dicker.
fucking
Are you
Randy
wearing a Cameron Dicker
Monty
jersey?
Numa jersey right now?"
Is that Letigu Nane on your back?
For real, like,
Dude, that's why I'm really happy about my Cameron Dicker purchase still, even though he's not 15.
that's solid. Yeah,
That is gonna be the most obscure shit in like 10 years that people are gonna be like people are gonna think that it's a customized jersey that says Dicker on the back.
yeah.
And then I'm gonna be like, nah, like I'm not that
Like,
creative,
nah,
but
that's actually a guy. He's legit. He's a
he's a
thing.
yeah,
He
he's a
exists.
thing. He missed the Carrie Underwood concert to kick a game-winning field goal for us. He is my savior.
Yeah, there you
So,
go. I'm gonna
hell
get a
yeah.
fucking Brandon Oliver jersey.
Dude, there's a store here in Lincoln that sells like all old jerseys, and there's a Ryan Leaf old jersey in there. I'm gonna go buy it. Like 100%, I'm gonna go buy it.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah. So
All right, man. Well, I'm gonna get out of here. We went 15 minutes over today. We had a lot to talk
We
about.
were
So,
cooking.
but hey, we covered pretty much the whole first week of camp so far, and broke down every position group and just went down the line. So covered a lot, man. We'll be back here in a few more days with another episode. So more to cover, more to come. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Chargers Powder Hour. Colin Appel, Miles Ruka here, signing off. Bolt up.